Tanner, do you think Val mentioned cult? We're talking good stuff here. Do you think today's woke generation, what we see in the media, is a cult? The global, whether it's global warming or not to get political, but do you think there's an element of either the national media or people that are kind of cultish in that way?
I think that's a loaded question. I think I, I think there's a lot that Val said that is important to recognize. And without going off onto the mainstream media, um, I'm gonna point back to a couple of things that we already know are true, but that people, for some reason, they don't they don't address. So the first being the way that we're teaching our kids and what we're looking at as far as lumping them together or the way we approach it. So there's a very famous book called Strength Finders, and the basically what you do with Strength Finders is you take a test, and the book is all of these different strengths, and what they identified in Strength Finders that is that we spend so much time working on weaknesses, and they use the school system as an example for this. So, when we have our children in school and they're great at arithmetic and they're great at science, but they struggle at reading or they struggle at geography. What do we pay attention to? What do we spend our time on? We spend our time on having them work on geography, right? Well, some kids aren't going to be mathematicians. Some kids aren't good at math, right? But they're great at writing. Why aren't we focusing them towards their strengths? And there's another great book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And what's really fantastic about Outliers is that Malcolm Gladwell uses a lot of really great scientific based, factual backed information to paint these wonderful portraits of how nothing is by chance. And one of the things that he talks about is the school system and how the way we approach the school system in the Western world versus the way they approach the school system in the rest of the world is why we rank so far behind in so many of the different areas of our learning. So, I think there's a lot to be said about how difficult it is to change. And I had there's a great saying out there that says it's tough to change culture. And the reason it's tough to change culture is because in order to change culture, we have to change ourselves. And if we're not really looking, and you hit the nail on the head, Val, with it starts with the individual. If we're not really looking at the individual and what's important to us, then we're going to continue to go down the path that we have. And so often we acquiesce to defeat because we look at it as such a big machine that we can't change it. But we can. We just have to be vocal about it. We have to speak about what we're passionate about, and we have to show up as ourselves first.